It is time for our big stat. How about 46 in a row? That's how many consecutive games Ohio State has won against teams from the state of Ohio heading into Saturday's battle with Youngstown State. It has been more than 100 years since anyone beat them. The Oberlin Yeomen, the last to do it in 1921. A yeoman's effort, and they quit while they were ahead. They have not played since. That gets us to our big interview. It is Ohio State tight end Cade Stover, a team-high 98 receiving yards in the win over Indiana. Cade, you are an Ohio guy before you became a Buckeye. Did you have any allegiance to other schools in the state?
Yeah, I mean, coming from Ohio, it's really hard not to come here when you got one of the best programs in the country in your backyard. But yeah, I mean, you still get recruited by other schools, and you take your trips there.
Let's dive into this Buckeye team and this game one for you guys. I mentioned you were the leading receiver on the team in terms of yards. With all the receiving talent in this group, was it a surprise to you at all to end up as the leading receiver in the game?
A little bit, I guess, but as we go through camp and we figure out each day a guy would have a really good day, and when you have that many weapons, you just kind of have an opportunity to make a play, and you make them when you can.
How would you assess the performance of the offense in game one?
It was our first time all playing together. We came away with the win, so we were really happy to do that, and we're really excited to see our stride from week one to week two.
Well, let's talk about that. Where do you think you can get better as a group? Where can you make some strides in week two?
Like I said earlier, we had a lot of guys playing together for the first time. So to be able to kind of simplify things and get back to playing ball and just get north and south.
Help me understand what you mean by simplify things. Like for those who haven't been through a preseason practice, who haven't put a game plan in, what does it mean to simplify things?
Not necessarily simplify scheme-wise, but just you're back under lights, you're back under the eyeballs. In that field with everybody watching you, you kind of forget that when you get to practicing. So when you don't practice, when you don't play for a while, and people start to figure out, hey, this is how I got to play this again, or hey, your assumptions are right that you are that good, or your assumptions are wrong that you're not that good. You just kind of hone in on things, and whatever those are is for week one to week two.
As a pass catcher, you obviously have some perspective into the quarterbacks that not many people have. What did you make of Kyle McCord's performance in week one?
I thought he did well. I thought he kept his composure. Good play, bad play, and that's really what you want. You want somebody to steady boat back there. I think the kid has all the talent in the world, and I'm excited to see, like I said, his stride from week one to week two.
How tough is it when you hear people kind of second guessing and already talking about, is this offense good enough? Are they good enough at quarterback? Certainly you guys are well aware that's been out there in week one. What's it like to hear that about your team one game into the season?
It sucks, it does, but then again, it really doesn't matter what anybody else is saying outside that facility. We know what we have in here, and we're excited to see what we can do with it here next week.
I want to dive into your background a little bit. We talked about this when you were at Big Ten Media Days. You're from a small town, Mansfield, Ohio. You grew up on a farm. How did that shape who you are?
I think growing up on a farm, really, I give all the credit to what I can do right now. Raising cows, seeing the family, seeing how close it makes your family, and how appreciative everything and pure that lifestyle is. Really, you can emulate every day here in college football.
In what ways does it make you closer to your family?
When you see all the opportunities and all the struggles that you go through on a daily basis there, dealing with basically like 100 toddlers, which is just 100 head of cows that like to rub on stuff and break stuff. You come together really as a family, and you fix things, you move them together, and then now they're not all glorified great days, but a lot of times you can take something from those bad days.
What's the most challenging farm chore that you had to do as a kid?
A lot of people don't like to bale hay, and to be honest with you, I love baling hay. As long as I'm not stuck in the hay mow somewhere where it's hot and muggy and I can be on the wagon with a little bit of breeze, I can go all day.
Can you maybe turn farming into an NIL deal here? Like, in all seriousness, is there a tractor that you could promote, or fertilizer? Like, is there something you could do as a farmer for NIL?
Oh yeah, to be honest with you, it's been a huge help for my dad and the farm back home. Ag Pro's been really, really good to us. They sent us out a new combine last year on the bye week that we were able to run all our corn with while I was home on that bye week. And that combine was about 30 years newer than the combine normally runs. So it was like driving a brand new Mercedes car for me, and I was like a little kid in the candy shop.
What are you doing in exchange? Like, how does that work from an NIL point of view?
We just kind of promote them, and people see the High State logo, and then a lot of country people look for a kid they can follow and somebody they can resonate with. So I like to try and be that person and branch that disconnect between the way food gets on your table and then what people and how you think it really does.
That's great. I know you have talked about buying a farm when you finish your career. What appeals to you the most about that life? What makes you say, hey, when I'm done with football, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, there's a farm like 2 or 3 miles from my family's farm that I've always loved, driven my four-wheeler by it and trucks ever since I could drive, that I've always wanted to buy. So really to be able to have that and be that close to my family and hopefully branch those farms together and live that pure lifestyle that you can enjoy and with your family and raise your kids there, I think there's nothing better.
Well, let's talk a little bit about football, because I know you want to play as long as you can before that. You were Mr. Football in Ohio your senior year of high school. You're also the all-time leading scorer in basketball at your high school. Tell us a little bit about your hoops game.
I'm still a hooper by heart. I love playing basketball. I think some of the best basketball games we've had have been in the Woody in our little half court over there. People really get after it there, but no, in high school we had a really good basketball team, and I've always taken a love to that, and football took off, and I mean, I love them both.
Who's the best basketball player on the football team outside of you?
Outside of me, JT's a pretty good hooper.
Really?
Yeah, JT can play.
All right. He seems like he'd be a tough guy to go into the lane against. Is that a fair
See, he's
assessment?
not. He's more of a shooter. He's a
Really?
finesse guy.
Really?
Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, he should throw his bulk around a little bit in there. You've played several positions at Ohio State. You, of course, started the Rose Bowl at linebacker a couple years ago. How did you compare playing defense to playing tight end? What are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I never played tight end until my sophomore year here at Ohio State. So it was a little bit of a struggle at first, trying to learn the nuances and everything like that. And really it took for me to come back in that Rose Bowl game to be able to come to tight end with a full heart and embrace it, really.
You had a tough injury in the college football playoff last year. You guys were seemingly in control of that game against Georgia. You went out with an injury, and the tide really turned, a hairline fracture in your back. Take us through that night from your perspective, particularly once you got hurt.
That was just one of the hardest nights of my life, really. Just to be able to put all that work in just to get to that opportunity with all your buddies that you've shared all that blood and tears with, and then you get put out like that. That hurt. But that's why I'm here, and that's why we're back, because to end on something like that, I could never live with myself.
Yeah, what does it mean to be back this year and competing and starting and playing well?
Everything. That's what you looked for. You wanted to change your body in the off season. You wanted to change the narrative of who we're going to be this year, and I think we're on a good step to do that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that and finish up with that on changing the narrative. I mean, everyone knows the goal at Ohio State, right? The goal is to make the college football playoff, which you did a year ago, to win the national championship. I mean, I think that's out there every year. Obviously, to beat Michigan, which hasn't happened these last couple of years, to win the Big Ten, which hasn't happened these last couple of years. How much do you talk about with your teammates those goals that you did not achieve last year, even in a season which for just about any other school would be an overwhelming success?
It's every day. We live that, and we wear it honestly. What happened to us, whether we like it or not, we have to. So going in every day to be able to figure out what you can hone in on that day to get better, to not let that happen again. That's really what we've tried to do. And we've got a lot of really good receptive guys to get that message across with us.
Well, Cade Stover, looking forward to watching the Buckeyes in action against Youngstown State here on the Big Ten Network on Saturday. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations on all your success. Have a good year.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me on.